It's crunch time for political parties today. They'll find out this morning whether or not they can still withhold the identity of their funders and donors and keep it a secret or not. The Constitutional Court is at 10 o'clock this morning expected to hand down a judgment confirming or objecting the September 2017 Western Cape High Court order on political party funding. This follows a ruling in favour of lobby group My Vote Counts, or MVC, which said in order for potential voters to make informed choices, the electorate needed to know who funded them. So have you ever wondered how South Africa will look like? Okay, for the latest on the constitutional Constitutional Court judgment expectation, we're now going through to our reporter, Ntakwana Ngatana. Ntakwana, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Desiree.
What are the expectations this morning?
Well, Desiree, I think that two key issues. Of course, this judgment is expected to be delivered around 10 o'clock. But I think looking at the discussions that happened in the National Council of Provinces yesterday, we understand that the EFF, for instance, is saying that the threshold that MVC or My Vote Counts wanted to be reduced to 10,000. At the moment, it is 100,000 for political parties to declare. But My Vote Counts was saying that that should be lowered down to 10,000. But the EFF is saying that chapter of the Act itself broadly should be rejected. But of course, we know that COSATU, on the other hand, are saying actually from zero, political parties should, as soon as they're funded, be telling us how much they're being funded by. So this is an issue, I think, that we will hear from the court here today. But the other issue that we know that My Vote Counts was also looking at was the issue of funding from outside of the country. And they were saying that parties should say who is funding them. But of course, as you said, Desiree, the main issue really for the voter in South Africa is if you know who's funding the party that you support, it determines who you will vote for, because if people whose principles you don't support are funding the party that you want to vote for, that will definitely change your vote. But of course, there is that other issue of some opposition parties that are saying that if the bill is adopted in its current form, it might actually threaten people who want to fund opposition parties, because they may feel that they will be victimized if it is known that they have funded parties that lose elections, if you like. So quite a delicate balancing act. But of course, the Constitutional Court will tell us today whether or not it is constitutional for us to know who funds political parties. Desiree?
Ntakwana, it's a similar conversation, but the conversations that took place at the NCOP yesterday don't really have much bearing on the outcome of today's judgment, do they?
Well, not necessarily, because these are parallel processes. Now, the process that's happening in Parliament at the moment is a process that comes from the ruling of the Western Cape High Court. And whatever the Constitutional Court rules here, the bill itself will be discussed. You know that the National Assembly adopted it, even though the EFF still had reservations when it was adopted last year. But we know that the Constitutional Court here is expected to broadly tell us whether or not the process or the concept of knowing who funds political parties is constitutional, and whether it will agree with the Western Cape High Court or disagree.
Ntakwana, thank you so much. We will be looking forward to that announcement around 10 a.m. this morning.